This is Carla McAdams from Mountain Spirit Yoga, here today once more to talk to you about the role of stress and how it affects our sleep. So this is the fourth video in the series on stress, and you may have noticed that it builds the information and the practices from the first video all the way through to this one. So as we talk about sleep and the role that stress plays in poor sleep, it'll be a bit of a review and a tying together of everything we've already talked about. So sleep is known as the great rejuvenator. So when we go to sleep, it's time for the body to repair all the cells. It's also time for the mind to really let go of and to digest whatever happened during the day. So if there were difficult conversations or a lot of thinking that went on because you're focusing and concentrating hard on something, or if you were distracted and all tied up in knots, when you sleep, it's a time for the mind to unwind, to process all of what happened, and to let it go. You might remember earlier when we talked about stress, it needs to move through your body, out of your mind. So sleep, one of its roles as the great rejuvenator, is to allow the brain to relax. It also resets the nervous system. We talked about this as being so important to letting go of stress and to heal and repair whatever kind of damage has been done by stress in your life. So many of us, though, don't sleep very well. We have insomnia. Some people have chronic insomnia, which is defined as not being able to go to sleep or not being able to stay asleep, waking up, can't go back to sleep 3 or more times a week. About 10 to 14% of all adults experience that chronic insomnia. During these last months of the pandemic, it has skyrocketed. So there is right now a tremendous episode of insomnia that is occurring among people due to the effects of stress, daily stress, and also pandemic stress. So what are some of the signs and effects of sleep deprivation? One, there are heart conditions that are exacerbated, such as high blood pressure. So if you are sleep deprived, it can increase your blood pressure. It can also lead to heart disease. Definitely something you don't want. Definitely related to stress. Diabetes, kidney disease, both can be affected or exacerbated by being sleep deprived. It increases your risk of infection, again, because the body isn't having time to release all the toxins out of all of the cells and to repair any type of damage that was done to the cells during the day. Therefore, it decreases your immune function. This is huge, particularly during the pandemic. It's so important to have a strong immune function. Obviously, it's going to create a sense of fatigue, and it contributes to weight gain. I hate that, but it's true. It's a diet secret, not so secret, that if you don't get a good night's sleep, your body senses that it's in stress. It senses, because it is, it senses that there is that fight or flight reaction going on. And if you are not sleeping well enough, your body will hold on to its stores of fat and actually turn muscle into fat to insulate you from this attack on your body. Terrible. So, get a good night's sleep, lose weight. And also, so these are like physical reactions, mood swings. You know, you wake up cranky, angry, irritated, overwhelmed, which can of course lead to chronic depression. Chronic insomnia and chronic depression, there's a direct correlative. Foggy brain, if you're not sleeping well, you don't wake up feeling refreshed, you wake up feeling foggy and have impaired memory. So again, if the brain and the nervous system aren't allowed to unwind from the day and literally process everything that occurred that day, it can lead to all these physical, mental, and emotional conditions, which, if you've been watching all the videos, you will recognize are all related to stress as well. So stress feeds insomnia. Insomnia creates more stress, which feeds insomnia, which creates more stress. And you get caught in this wicked cycle of stress and insomnia. And if you experience this, or if you know anyone who experiences this, it can be quite frustrating, especially since you're feeling overwhelmed, irritable, depressed, and have a foggy brain. So what to do? Well, there are many sleep studies that have been done. There are many institutes that are devoted to creating better sleep for people. And some of the common suggestions that came out of all of that work are right here. And these are actually straight out of the CDC. Number one, reduce stress. Stress is a killer. Stress takes people to the doctor more commonly even than low back pain, which is huge. It's like 70% of all doctor's visits are related to low back pain, which actually is also related to stress. So the number one way to get better sleep is to reduce your stress. Consistent sleep schedule. This is very interesting. This comes up in yogic philosophy of Ayurveda, as well as in modern day studies, that it's very important that you follow your natural circadian rhythm in order to have a better night's sleep. In Ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga, the teaching is that you need to be asleep by about 10 o'clock at night. And then most of that repair of the brain and the mind and the body occurs between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. And then you go into that deeper sleep cycle before you wake up. So you want to get to bed relatively early. Now, I'm a night owl my whole life, so that sounds really early to me. To some of you, it may sound late. So you also need to find your own circadian rhythm. But what is true both from Ayurvedic standpoint and modern scientific standpoint is that it needs to be consistent. So if you are a 10 o'clock tonight person, you hold to it every night. If you wake up at 6, you try to wake up at 6 every morning, so that your body and your brain, the hormones and all of the regulatory parts of your being are on this cycle that is consistent. Your body, your brain, your emotions operate much more effectively if there's consistency in your life patterns. Too much sleep can be just as debilitating as too little sleep. That really can also lead to like brain fog and lethargy, great fatigue. So a lot of people during this time of pandemic had their personal schedules just flipped upside down. So some people are at home when they used to be out in the working world, and they've had a difficult time creating that consistent schedule. But if you want to have better sleep, it's very important. You want to exercise in the day, because in the day, it's the active time of the cycle, the 24-hour cycle, and you want to get rid of all that excess energy during the daytime. So when it comes evening time and you're preparing for sleep, there is a natural letting down, a natural feeling of tiredness rather than being hyped up because you haven't expended extra energy during the day. It's very important before you go to sleep. What you do the last hour or so before you go to sleep is very important. The recommendation from the CDC is to avoid large meals, caffeine, we know that one, and alcohol before you go to bed. So large meals means that all of the blood is in your digestive tract, in your stomach, in your digestive tract. It's not available to repair the cells of your body. Alcohol is an interesting one. Alcohol, they have shown through studies, will maybe help you get to sleep, but it's going to wake you up later. And it has to do with the nature of the alcohol and how it's related to sugar processing in your body and in your brain, that it may put you to sleep or make you sleepy, but you're going to wake up and then have a harder time getting to sleep. Caffeine, of course, just keeps you jazzed. So then again, the brain can't let go. Caffeine will, one of the reasons caffeine works is it gives you that little bit of adrenaline rush that we talked about. That is part of the eustress, part of stress cycling. All right, so before you go to bed, these are the recommendations. Ayurveda would ask that you have your smallest meal of the day as supper. We sort of flip it on its tail here. In yogic Ayurvedic practice, breakfast is a healthy, full meal because it is breaking the fast of sleeping. Lunch is your greatest meal of the day because it's the height of activity during the day. And then your supper is actually the smallest meal, and it's meant to complement whatever nutrients you didn't get so far during the day. And it's early. In Ayurveda, they would ask you to eat no later than 7 o'clock at night. Then, place your bedroom. So this is true if you've been to a yoga class and it's time for the relaxation at the end. You might have heard your teacher say, in order to really rest, you need to be comfortable, it needs to be dark, and it needs to be quiet. These are the signals to the brain that it's time to rest and to go into that rejuvenating cycle. So your bedroom needs to be quiet, dark, and they've done studies that show if your bedroom is slightly cool, either by cracking a window or just adjusting your heat or air conditioning so that the bedroom is slightly cool, you're going to sleep more soundly and stay asleep. Here's the big one. Electronics out of the bedroom. Why? Number one, they make noise. Number two, the biggest one is this blue screen light. So this also has to do with your activities in that hour or two even before you go to bed. If you're sitting in front of a computer or tablet or on your phone during that hour before sleep, the blue light that is emitted will block the release of the hormone melatonin. Melatonin's job in your body is to regulate the sleep-wake cycle. Some of you may take melatonin in a tablet or capsule form to help you fall asleep or stay asleep. It works the same way that melatonin, you want that to be released so that your brain knows it's time to be going to sleep. So if you've got electronics in your bedroom, and that also includes TVs, the electromagnetic vibrations that are released as well as the blue screen light is going to interfere with the melatonin production. Plus, it just ties you to the day. You know, if your phone is right there by your bedside, maybe you use it to wake up, you set your alarm by your phone. I know, I've done this. I wake up and what do I do the first thing in the morning? Well, on a good morning, I'll check the weather. On a stress morning, I'm going to check my email first thing, or maybe the news. Maybe right before bed, I'm going to check in with the news. And what that does is it keeps you tied to the events of the day. It keeps you tied to this working brain. It doesn't divorce it from all of that busyness, all of that distraction, all of those things that tie your brain up in knots. So there are many reasons to keep electronics out of the bedroom. So, what to do instead? Well, in that hour before bed, it's me time. So it's time to really nurture yourself and prepare for bed. So again, in the daily cycle, the evening time is a calming time. You know, if the middle of the day is the height of activity, the evening time is a calming time. And that last hour before you go to sleep, which is truly one of the most important things you do in that whole 24-hour cycle, because that's what gives us great health and vitality. So during that hour before bed, it's really a wonderful time for nurturing yourself. I call it me time. There are a lot of soothing things that you can do for yourself during this time. Take a warm bath. Put some Epsom salts in the bath. Epsom salts are magnesium, and magnesium is a muscle relaxant. So it tells the brain and the body it's time to relax and let go of the stress and the tension that we hold in our muscles we've been talking about with stress. You might want to put some essential oils in that warm bath, perhaps lavender, which is very soothing to the brain and the body, or some frankincense. You might also want to drink a cup of herbal tea, maybe listening to some soothing music. Maybe you're reading a book that is enjoyable. Perhaps chamomile is a very soothing herbal tea. In Ayurveda and yoga, we recommend drinking warm milk before bed. The warmth and the heaviness of milk with a little bit of honey, maybe a little cinnamon, gives you a sense of fullness in your belly. Plus it's warm. If you are a nighttime snacker, it will take away that urge to eat right before you go to bed. And a bit of honey feeds your body during the night so you don't wake up ravenous in the middle of the night. So you might want to give that one a try. You may also, besides listening to soothing music, there are many apps for your phone. I know it's an hour before bed, but just saying. Or on YouTube that have nature sounds, or that specifically are working with the brain waves and working to find the slower brain waves and to bring your brain functioning into that slow wave pattern, which is what you want to have in order to have a good night's sleep. So all of that leads you up to restorative yoga. So in the practice of yoga, there are restorative poses that are particularly nurturing for you. We've done some of them at the end of the other 3 videos. Today I'll show you some others. There are also different breaths and different hand positions that will help you. So let's start with breathing, which has been our practice all along. I'm going to come and sit in the chair. You might be sitting on a chair, you might be sitting on the floor, you might be sitting on your bed. Whatever you are sitting on, settle in and settle yourself. Take a few shoulder rolls. You know, we hold so much tension here in our neck and shoulders and our jaw that it's really useful to take some shoulder rolls, turn your head side to side, open and close your jaw, squeeze, let it go. Stretch and squeeze through your hands. Your hands have been busy doing all day, so you really want to let that go. And then give them a bit of a shake. We're going to practice a breath that we've already done in this video series called the balloon breath. And remember, it's the one where you're going to expand through the lower part of the lungs, expanding out through the lower ribs. The focus is still on the exhale to fully empty the breath, and then a soft inhale that expands you and just relaxes everything. So I'll lead you through that in a moment. The hand gesture is super simple. All you do is take your hands palms up, then the tip of the pinkies and the tip of the ring fingers lightly touch. You rest them in your lap, and then they soften. So it's not, you're not like, ooh, squeezing the fingers. It's soft and receptive gesture. This mudra is particularly for insomnia. It's deeply relaxing. By practicing this breath and this mudra, before we get into some restorative yoga, again, it signals the brain and the body that we're moving into that relaxation phase just before sleep. So, pinkies and ring, fingers lightly touching, palms open on your lap, shoulders comfortably down your back, lengthening up towards the sky so that you can breathe better. If you're comfortable, I recommend you close your eyes because that really turns your attention inward. This is an inward dwelling, self-nurturing time. So, with your eyes, they could be soft or closed. First, find your natural cycle of breath. And just notice where the tension patterns are sitting in your body. Perhaps they're in your neck and shoulders. Perhaps they're in your jaw. Perhaps your belly's tight. If you had a lot of stress today, you might have a tight belly. You might have low back stress or strain. So simply notice. Then to set up the balloon breath, the next time you are exhaling, draw your belly in firmly to release breath. And then on the inhale, just let the breath flow back in, starting with belly breathing. On the exhale, pull the belly in firmly. And when your body's ready to breathe, it'll do it on its own. All you have to do is relax the belly. Remember, when you exhale and pull the belly in, it helps to create that vacuum in your lungs that will naturally fill as soon as you relax the belly. Once you have a sense of that belly moving in on the exhale, softly expanding on the inhale, you can stay with that. That's belly breathing. Or you can more consciously expand low ribs out to the side on that in-breath. On the exhale, pull in. So balloon breath creates a sense of space inside of you. And if you've been contracted or tense throughout the day, this can help release some of that sense of tightness. Try that consciously for another 3 breaths. Pulling the belly in on the exhale, allowing it to fill on the inhale, and then maybe consciously expanding out, not up, out. Remember, this is a practice you can also do throughout the day if you're feeling stressed. This will help release some of that pent-up, anxious kind of stress. And then let it go and just notice what your body's doing now. Check in with those places that felt strain or tight, and just see if anything has begun to move. We're going to do some warm-up movements for the body before I show you some restorative poses that you could try. You could do these in the chair, but today I'm going to practice them on the floor. So you can either join me in coming to the floor, or you can stay in your chair. If you're on the floor, I have a stack of blankets here. You may want to grab one of those blankets to help you be more comfortable. So say that you're still feeling a little bit tense in your body. Twisting is a wonderful way to release it. So this is a seated twist. It's very earthy. So again, it's downward flowing energy. You just sit with your feet comfortably apart but a little wide, shoulders back, and then you drop your hips and knees to one side and then to the other. Pretty simple. So the hips just roll to one side, the knees follow. Don't think I'm moving my knees. You're actually moving your hips. Releasing tension that may be sitting in the low back and in the belly. And then we're going to come around and touch the floor. You may have done this earlier in one of the videos. So you can use this as a releasing movement as well as a warming movement, just by slowing it down. So it becomes more releasing when you slow it down. I'm keeping the energy low so the hands are coming to the floor, but I'm releasing tension in the torso, releasing tension through the spine. A couple more times. And the next time you're coming forward, come onto hands and knees. I just need this back of it so I've got room. I like to pad my knees, particularly if you want to relax, you want to make sure that you are comfortable. If your wrists are tender, you can always come to knuckles like this instead of palms. Have your knees a little bit wide, wider than your hips. Feet can be lengthened and relaxed or toes under, it's your choice. This is traditional cat and dog or cat and cow movement. It's a spinal rock. So you inhale, and as you exhale, drop the tailbone down, and then inhale, lift it up. So we're just warming up the spine, because restorative poses you hold for several breaths. So you want to make sure that your body is warmed up enough to be in that position for a while. So we do a little bit of cat and dog. And this will also release residual tension in your body and in your mind from your day. If it's comfortable in your neck, you can drop your head. Remember from the day, the video we were talking about mind tension, mental tension. If you bring your head lower, it decreases that mental tension. If that's not comfortable in your upper spine or in your neck, don't do it. Now this next time, you're lifting up through the belly, tail is pressing down. If your knees allow, you take your hips back. Now it's up to you how far you go. If this is about how far you go, then you're going to walk your hands forward because we're going to hold this pose. If your knees are comfortable, you might sink back further. The arms are actively stretching though. Back here, this pose is called extended child. If you're here, it's called puppy. Either way, it's a big stretch for the spine and for the arms. So here you breathe. And you can do that same balloon breath, trying to expand here through the lower ribs. Spreading up in your back. And then walk your hands to one side. This will help open up the longer side, and you breathe there a bit. And walk your hands to the other side. Breathe into the opposite rib cage. And then walk your hands back to the center. You always want to end with a long, straight spine. Breathing in here. And then come back up to all fours, knees underneath your hips. Walk yourself up, unfold your body. Just to roll the shoulders back. Roll the shoulders back. A couple more times. All day long, particularly if you're on phones or on the computer, you're hunched over and you want to make sure that you open up. So those are some gentle warm-ups you can do preparing for these restorative poses. I'm going to show you 3 different poses. The first one we'll do together. We'll take the time, we'll do all of them. So you need some props. I'm at the studio, so I have bolsters. You may not have bolsters at home, but I bet you've got blankets. So if you take a blanket, I've just folded it down to this size, and then fold it in half again, it's sort of like a bolster. So I have 3 of those, just in case, and I've got 2 different thicknesses bolsters. So this one would represent maybe 1 or 1.5 blankets, and this is about 2 blankets high. For ease, I'll probably use the bolsters, but you can just stack blankets as well. So the first one we're going to come into is a spinal twist. We just lengthen the spine. We still want to do some releasing, all right, because we hold tension internally as well as externally. It sort of depends on your body too, how long your torso is if you want the higher bolster or a higher stack of blankets, or if you want the lower one. Anyway, so you've got some blankets or a bolster. Then you're going to take another blanket and put it over the top. And this is draped so that if you need to, you can fold it up again and make it higher. I like to always sit on a blanket so that I'm comfortable. So I'm going to take a blanket here to sit on. So this is a spinal twist. You sit on one side, preferably the right. So I'm on my physical right side. My hip bone, which is right here, I can feel the pelvic bone, is in the middle of the bolster or your stack of blankets. My legs are just comfortably splayed to the side. Some people are not comfortable with their knees like this, and in that case, you might want to take that third blanket or another one and just place it between your knees. I'm fine, that actually disturbs my pelvis, but you might find that you want that extra support. Then one hand is in front, the other hand is behind. You're going to lift up, take a deep breath in. The twist happens in midair. You rotate towards the blanket. You keep the spine long in that twisted position and you lengthen out. Now you get to here, hands are on either side, and the head comes down and rests. You may be comfortable looking in the same direction as your knees or in the other direction, or you might need to have forehead to the blanket. Since you've got this draped blanket, you may want to fold it up and make it a little higher. Ah, that's perfect. Were I to be here long, I would also take off my glasses. It sort of misaligns your glasses and pushes them into your head. But for the purposes of showing you this posture, we'll pause here. Now, these restorative poses, you can stay in for 5 minutes or maybe even longer. We're going to stay, this is a two-sided pose because it's right and left. We'll stay here for 5 deep breaths. So find your balloon breath. On the exhale, really soften from inside. Inhale, you're trying to expand through the ribs here into the area of twist. And on the exhale, soften. Oh, I must be relaxing. I've already lost my count. Let's do 2 more breaths wherever you are. Now, if I fall asleep in this video, you know this stuff really works. 1 more breath. I already know it does. So that was 5 deep breaths, and sometimes that may be enough to start the cycle of relaxation response. To come out of the pose, because we need to do the other side, use your hands, you press down, lengthen the spine forward, untwist, walk yourself up. Great. Now, just so I don't have to move a bunch of props around, I'm going to turn to the other side and you'll be able to see the pose from the back. I'll enter it the same way, the twist is in midair, and then lengthen out and down, and together we'll take 5 breaths. So remember that knee side to side? Here you go. Use that to turn you to the other side. Again, you align your hips with the middle of the bolster or stack of blankets. Hands on either side, lengthen. Turn towards the blanket stack or bolster stack. Lengthen, and then you're consciously walking out, walking out, walking out, walking out. And then see if on this side, everything is at the right height, at the right place. And take 5 full balloon breaths here. Two more. And then on your inhale, lengthen the spine. Walk yourself up. Keep lengthening, keep lengthening, keep lengthening. I'm going to use that knee side to side to turn myself all the way back around to see you. So we stay 5 breaths. You might want to stay 5 minutes per side and really deeply release into it. Whenever you've done a spinal twist in yoga, you need to follow it with a lengthening of the spine. So this next restorative posture is short. You wouldn't hold this one, you could hold it 5 minutes if you want, but you could also hold it truthfully 3 to 5 breaths, depending on your knees. If your knees allow, you just snug up to the blanket stack or bolster and you sit like this. I know your knees may not allow. You lengthen the spine and you walk out. Again, you might want to use this blanket. And again, rest or rest or rest. But maybe here in the middle. And this is just to allow the spine to unwind itself after those twists. Now, if your knees do not allow, you can simply make a nice, pretty high stack, unfold the legs, support your pelvis with one end of the bolster, and come to here. And just literally lay over the blanket stack or the bolster. But it's lovely to have the support of the belly and just breathing into that. All right, 5 breaths. Come back up. So the twist, remember, release muscle tension. It also releases organ tension. It also helps to move blood in and out of the tissues, so they're doing its job of releasing toxins and bringing in freshly oxygenated blood, followed by a spine lengthening. Then you want to come into one of the great rejuvenators, and this is what they really translate to if you take the Sanskrit name for some of these next 2 poses and bring it into English. It's called the Great Rejuvenator for sleep. We already did one of them in one of the other videos. I'll show you that again, but I'll show you another more classical version of it. So for this, you could be on your bed and your legs could end up by the wall, or you would be close to a wall. Now I have a bar here, so the bar is going to represent my wall. So what you need for this, okay, I like to have a bigger blanket, because you never know. And I want to have enough blanket up here that if I need to, I can fold it under as a pillow. Then classically, this is the classical version of the pose. I'm going to make a little bit of a blanket stack here for my pelvis. So that would be 1 extra blanket. I'll show you the higher version first, just so you can see. Or even 2 extra blankets. So what you do for this one is you sit on the side of the blanket. Oh, the bar is helpful here. You want your pelvis to stay on the blanket, and you're going to alley-oop onto your back. Oh, that bar is wonderful. Actually, I think I'll always do this pose here. So what happens is your pelvis is resting on the blanket stack. The upper body is on the floor. The feet are elevated. And so it's like a really quick release of tension through your body. Some people find it's too much pressure in the head, so they're going to take this blanket, curl it up, that's better, and make a little pillow. So you're welcome to stay here for up to 15 minutes. You don't need to have your hips elevated. You could also have them flat. To come out, it is a big inversion. Your head is clearly lower than your heart and completely lower than your feet. So to come out, you bring your knees into your chest first, release some of the effect on your blood pressure. But then you need to roll to the side And pause there for 3 breaths. This gives your body and brain time to equalize the blood pressure before you press yourself back up to sitting. Again, you don't have to have 2 blankets. You could have 1 blanket or even no blankets, just be flat. This is great for jet lag. I use this all the time if I travel internationally. I'll go to the hotel. We're just alley-oop my legs up the wall on the bed and lay there for a good 15 to 30 minutes, and it totally rejuvenates you, makes you ready for the day. But the other version, we've already practiced, and we'll practice it again. You do legs over the chair. So you bring your blanket stacks here. You can elevate your pelvis here as well over the chair, but you don't necessarily need to. So I'll move that one today and bring that blanket here. Let's do it that way for my head. You get into it the same way, not very elegant. You sit next to it, and then you alley-oop your legs over. Some people, if I were longer legged, some people like to bring it here. This is what fits me better. You settle in, and you release. So if you tend to have, or sometimes with your legs elevated straight, your legs get really restless, or it's just too much pressure in your head, this is a milder version, but every bit as effective. Here, I'm going to ask you to place your hands on your low belly. We'll go back to that belly breathing. If you are wearing glasses, take them off. Not only do they tie you to your active life, but they also put pressure in your temples. You may want to put an eye pillow across your eyes. You may want to, yes, I still have a blanket. You may want to take a blanket. These are heavy blankets, so they're particularly nice, and just weight across your pelvis. This is very soothing. I know weighted blankets are popular now to help quell anxiety. It's the same idea. So if you just take a blanket and put it over your pelvis, it sinks that energy. And here you pause and you breathe. Even through the blanket, I can inhale and feel my belly rise. And on the exhale, release to the earth. Now, since we're in an inversion, I'll lead you through a progressive relaxation from the feet to the head. Typically, we go from head to feet, but when they're elevated, I like to start with the feet. So squeeze your feet and then let them go. Try that again. Squeeze your feet and let them go. One more time. Squeeze your feet and let them go. Relax your ankles, your calves. From your feet to your knees, lower legs resting heavily on the chair. The weight of the thighs, the upper legs, draws down towards the earth. Belly is soft. Buttocks heavy in the earth. Relax your chest, your back, your shoulders. Let all of that tension of your shoulders melt into the earth. Upper arms relax, lower arms. Palms open, soft, and heavy on your belly. Belly gently breathing and lifting up, and releasing, lowering down. Soften your throat. Let your lower teeth pull away from the upper teeth. Soften your cheeks, temples, forehead, crown of the head. And from the soles of the feet all the way to the crown of the head, There's a steady release like a waterfall, tension flowing through your body, releasing out the crown of your head, unpacking your mind, untangling tension in your body, all those restless thoughts. Feel the back of your body heavy and settled on the chair and on the earth. The front of the body heavy, settling into the back body. Right side of the body growing heavier yet. Left side of the body softening, growing sleepy. Relax your ears, cheeks, lower jaw. Eyes drop into your skull and turn slightly towards your nose. Breath quiet. Imagine your mind as a lake. Thoughts may create a ripple on that lake, but as soon as that ripple goes to shore, it dissipates. So let the thoughts flow through your mind. No need to hold on to them or explore them. Just let them flow through. Body at rest, mind untangling, emotions soft and responsive, letting go, dropping in, letting go, dropping in more deeply, letting go, dropping into the center of yourself, into the calm center, into the quiet, into the place where all is well. Body and mind softening, settling, preparing for the great rejuvenation of sleep. You're welcome to stay here 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You may fall asleep here, so you might want to practice these restorative poses in your jammies. If you do fall asleep or when you're ready to go to bed, just gently, with as little fuss as possible, bring your knees into your chest, roll to the side, and just like when the legs are off the wall, you need to pause here for a few breaths. And gently bring yourself back up to sitting. You may want to go right off to bed. Perhaps you'd like to meditate a bit before sleep. Come into that same mudra, pinkies, ring fingers gently touching, hands resting in your lap, everything soft, prepared for sleep. Thank you so much for joining me today, looking at the role of sleep as the great rejuvenator, how stress plays into the cycle of insomnia, which feeds stress. Using the tools of yoga to help you release that stress, to help you have a better night's sleep. It is absolutely critical to your health, to your vitality, to your well-being. Thank you so much for joining me for this entire series on stress. I hope that you learn some tips to help you every day and that you live a life that is less stressful, reclaiming that natural joy and vitality that is your birthright. With great gratitude, namaste. Be well.